Welcome, seekers of truth. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe and leave a like, not just as a gesture, but as a commitment to expanding your understanding and embracing deeper knowledge. Your support fuels this journey into insight and wisdom. Let us proceed. Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, believed that our journey in the first decades of life is not the main story, but rather a preparation for what lies ahead. He said life really begins at 40. Until then, you are just doing research. It is a bold statement that challenges the way most people view aging. We are taught to fear aging, to see middle age as a period of decline, chaos, or crisis. Popular culture is full of cliches about the so-called midlife crisis, a moment of existential terror, impulsive decisions, and desperate attempts to cling to youth. But Jung offers a radically different perspective. What if this phase of life is not a crisis but an awakening? And what if it is not an end but a new beginning? To understand this, we need to look at what the first 40 years of life represent. Think of these decades as a phase of exploration, a period in which we gather experiences, build identities, and learn how the world works. It is a time of rapid growth where we absorb ideas and values from the people around us. But it is also a period of searching. Who am I? What should I do with my life? What will make me happy? These questions drive us in youth, but the answers we find often seem incomplete. In these first years, we are trying to understand life while still trying to figure out who we really are. We build careers, relationships, and families. We focus on external success and social approval. We are learning, struggling, and sometimes failing, and all of this shapes us. However, as Jung suggests in Archetypes in the Collective Unconscious, all of this is preparation. It is research. It is laying the foundations for something deeper. As we approach 40, we begin to realize that the old ways of living no longer satisfy us. The priorities that seem so urgent, climbing the career ladder and fitting in, meeting expectations, begin to lose their appeal. We realize that much of what we have done has been shaped by others' definitions of success and happiness. And this realization, although disconcerting, is also liberating. It is the beginning of a new phase, a process that Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, of living life on our own terms. This change is not sudden. It does not happen overnight. It is gradual, often beginning with small, silent questions. Is this all there is? Am I living the life that I truly want? These questions can arise in moments of reflection, a milestone in a career, a significant birthday, or even a quiet night alone. But once they appear, they do not disappear. They grow stronger, demanding answers. And these answers require that we face ourselves in ways we never have before. The world may see this as a midlife crisis. It is easy to label these moments of questioning and change as a breakdown. But Jung invites us to reframe this experience. What if it is not a crisis, but an opportunity? And what if this phase of life, with all its challenges, doubts, and changes, is exactly what we need to become the person we always should have been? In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung makes an observation. Middle age is not the beginning of the end. It is the beginning of something much more real, meaningful, and authentic. To fully understand Jung's perspective, it is helpful to consider how we see the first half of life. During this phase, we are focused on building what he called the persona, the external identity we present to the world. This persona is influenced by our upbringing, culture, and social expectations. It is the version of ourselves that seeks approval, fits in, and is successful in the eyes of others. It is a necessary phase, without which we would not learn how to navigate society or lay the groundwork for adult life. But the persona is not the complete self. It is a mask, a role that we perform, and although it has its use, it is only part of what we are. The problem arises when we become overly attached to it, confusing it with our true self. When we reach middle age, the cracks in the persona begin to appear. The roles we play, the successful professional, the devoted parent, the loyal partner, all begin to feel restrictive. We begin to realize that there is more in us than the image we are projecting, and this is where the real work begins. Jung called this process going beyond the persona. Individuation. Individuation is about integrating all parts of ourselves, not just the socially acceptable ones, but also the dark and hidden aspects that we ignore or repress. The shadow, as Jung described in Man and His Symbols, contains all that we reject about ourselves, our fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled desires. Facing the shadow can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is essential for growth. Only by recognizing and accepting these parts of ourselves can we become whole. In middle age, the process of individuation gains new importance. The questions we face are no longer about external achievements, but if you've made it this far, I want you to know that you're a warrior, and by staying on this path, you'll connect with your higher self and become a better person every single day. So if this resonates with you, go ahead and hit subscribe, give this video a like, and tap the bell so you won't miss any of these insights that are here to help you grow. Thanks for being part of the Being of Knowledge family. About inner fulfillment. What truly matters to me? What do I want to leave behind? What kind of life do I want to create? These are deeply personal questions, and the answers cannot be found in the expectations of others. They require that we look within, that we listen to our own inner voice. This inward look is often accompanied by a shift in priorities. In youth, we are driven by ambition, competition, and the desire to prove ourselves. In middle age, we seek purpose and meaning. Life becomes less about doing and more about being. It is no longer about proving our worth, but about living in alignment with our true self. Scientific studies confirm that this shift is supported by changes in the brain. Neuroscientific research shows that as we age, the emotional centers of the brain become more balanced. We become less reactive and more reflective, more capable of regulating our emotions and facing life's challenges with calm and perspective. This emotional maturity allows us to make decisions based on our values and not on our fears. We stop living on autopilot and begin living with intention. This does not mean that middle age is free of challenges. On the contrary, it can be a time of great turbulence. The process of questioning and redefining ourselves often involves letting go of old identities, relationships, and goals. This can feel like a loss, and it is easy to understand why some people experience it as a crisis. But as Brené Brown points out, what we call the midlife crisis is often a dismantling, a moment when we are challenged to abandon who we thought we should be and to embrace who we really are. This dismantling can be messy. It can involve difficult conversations, major life changes, or periods of uncertainty. But it is also a time of incredible growth. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote that the primary force of human life is the will to find meaning. In middle age, this will become more urgent. We are no longer content to live according to someone else's script. We want a life that feels meaningful, even if it is different from what we imagine. To achieve this means facing the fears that have held us back, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of stepping into the unknown. These fears can be paralyzing, but middle age offers an opportunity to face them head-on. It is a chance to rewrite the story of our lives, to leave behind what no longer serves us, and to embrace what truly matters. Abraham Maslow, the humanistic pioneer, described this process as self-actualization. It is the drive to realize our full potential, to become the best version of ourselves. In middle age, self-actualization takes on new depth. It is no longer about achieving external success, but about finding inner fulfillment. It is about living a life that feels authentic and meaningful. This process is not easy, but it is worth it. Studies show that people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond often report higher levels of life satisfaction than people in their 20s and 30s. They feel more connected to themselves and to others. They are less concerned about what others think and more focused on what brings them joy and purpose. This is the gift of middle age, the freedom to live on our own terms. Jung believed that this freedom comes from embracing the full complexity of who we are. It is about integrating light and darkness, successes and failures, dreams and disappointments. It is about accepting ourselves completely, even the parts we find difficult to face. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, said Jung in the Red Book. But it is also the most liberating. Middle age is not a time to despair over what we have lost. It is a time to celebrate what we have gained. Wisdom, clarity, resilience. It is a time to build a life that reflects our true self, a life that feels real and whole. It is a time to stop doing research and to start living. In that sense, middle age is not the beginning of the end. It is the beginning of something much deeper. It is a turning point, a chance to step into the life we were meant to live. And while the journey may be challenging, it is also deeply rewarding. Life really begins at 40, not because we have all the answers, but because we finally begin to ask the right questions. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something within you awaken, don't stop here. Subscribe to the Being of Knowledge and become part of a community of silent strategists, of awakened minds who no longer fall for masks. Like this video if it brought you clarity, and share it with those who also need to open their eyes. Because true power begins with one decision: to never be the same again. Thank you for watching.